Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of Behind Our Science, coming to you from the heart of the ASIP 2024 meeting in Baltimore. I'm your co-host Daisy Shu, and today we're diving into a topic that's crucial not only to our careers, but to our very lives: wellness. In the world of science, where the quest for knowledge is ceaseless, and the hours can be long, taking care of ourselves can sometimes take a backseat. But what does it really mean to practice wellness, especially in such a demanding field? During this conference, I had the opportunity to ask many brilliant minds what wellness means to them and about the practices they incorporate into their daily lives to not just survive, but thrive in their fields.
Wellness to me is a state of mind. It's also a physical state in which you allow yourself to experience peace and happiness and altogether roundness and oneness.
Wellness means taking care of your body, both mentally and physically. Wellness
To me, it means things that I can do to keep myself healthy.
I think wellness means I have enough positive energy to carry on while I'm working.
When I think about wellness, I think about taking care of all parts of us. I think about taking care of our body. I think about taking care of our mind, our brain, how we think, and I think about taking care of our energy.
It means to be able to balance between stressors, factors in your whole life, and with positive thoughts, with positivity, with things that brings you joy.
Means being able to take care of yourself, your mind, how you think, and how you fit into the world. I think so much of how we interpret thoughts and take what's in our external world and bring it into our internal world can really impact our wellness.
Wellness, I think, is practicing maintaining good physical and mental health, kind of both of them tied in together, getting the physical aspect of it, but then also mental benefits from it.
It means having life in balance, to deal with the things that are coming at me and responding to them appropriately.
So wellness is a balance that you partake in. So you make the most out of enjoying life instead of living to work. Your work should support your living.
Wellness means balance. So not in moderation, both of those things, which I guess are very linked to one another, but moderation and balance, yes.
Aside from just the physical aspect, it definitely, I feel like also a little bit more importantly is definitely have to focus on the mental aspect as well. Because it goes hand in hand. I can't, especially because of the kind of job that I have, or working customer service, obviously, I cannot come in with not an all right mental capacity. It's just not okay. I have to speak to guests. I also have to interact with my coworkers and make sure that the team is on the same page. And if I come in on a rampage, it's not going to be okay. It's not going to be a good day. But within the aspect of wellness, I also know that if I'm not doing well mentally or physically, I also have the free will to say, hey, I can't do it today. So that definitely plays a part as well.
Wellness is means two different things. It's the physical wellness and mental and emotional wellness. With physical wellness, I mean us being healthy, in good shape, to be able to think properly, and with mental wellness, to be able to be grounded and prioritize what really means to be.
Wellness means I feel the inner balance and I don't lose my mind in the lab.
Taking a little time for myself besides the science. So I would say certain times of the year I do it very well, but maybe during grant deadline time I don't do it well. And it doesn't, I don't think it has to be, I hear people talk, work-life balance all the time. I don't think it can be 50-50. I wish it could be. But I think at least if you just take even a little time, just 10% of the day, and have something that's just for you, whatever it is for you.
Wellness means to me have a work-life balance where I can do things that I'm happy to do during the days and be with my family in the end of the day and enjoy weekends, summer time, and being like spend time with my friends.
What this means to me is having a good work-life balance and being content with what you do on a day-to-day basis, and when you go home at night you can kind of leave your work at work and enjoy your time with your family and friends.
Being physically and mentally okay, and how I practice that is mostly by going to the gym and being active, not only physically but also mentally, keeping myself busy.
As a scientist, I quite neglected myself, and there was always the next task, the next grant to write. And then about a month ago, I was diagnosed with diabetes. And that's kind of terrible news to know, but then it was a wake-up call to address my health. And about a month ago, I did a very similar presentation as of today at Boston Children's, and I felt I ruined it. It wasn't good. I didn't understand why. And later I learned I have about 300 sugar levels at the time. And ever since, I'm exercising every day. I have a diet. I lost over 30 pounds, and I feel great. I feel like several decades younger. And today, doing the presentation on a similar topic, I realized how good it was and how much difference it makes. So in pursuit of daily tasks, you shouldn't forget of taking care of your body, because in the sound body, you have a sound mind. And that's what wellness means to me.
Putting things in perspective, realizing that life continues on and dealing with things in the present, not worrying about things that have passed, and not fixating on all the potential bad outcomes in the future, and realizing that everything goes for the best.
I am a crafter. I'm a designer by heart, so I love making personalized cards, greeting cards. So my wellness in not only designing the card is also writing the expression, where I can write about someone getting well or someone doing well in that card.
Painting.
Wow.
I work out about 3 times a week, and I do this 3-part workout where I do 20 minutes of spin, 20 minutes of strength, and 20 minutes of yoga. And that's just my joy to get to do after work, basically every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday.
I follow a formalized practice, as well as learn how to meditate really in any environment, so that I can properly interpret the world around me and keep some internal peace regardless of what's going on around me. The other thing that I do is I do try to exercise, but regardless of the type of exercise that I do, I always practice yoga. Those types of movements with the body also impacts the mind. So my greatest interest is on the mind, how we think and how we utilize our thoughts. And so many of us, we tend to carry too much of the past or worry too much about the future. And I find both meditative practices as well as yoga to be extremely helpful for me.
Well, if I think about taking care of my mind, body, and my energy, for my body, I try to walk every day. I live near the Charles River in Boston, so I like to walk by the river, walk on a golf course, which is a nice walk for me. If I think about taking care of my mind, I do that by working as a coach, coaching with people, and I do that by thinking. I have a podcast, and so it's creative creative well-being for me to think about my podcast. And then when I think about my energy, I take care of my energy every day. I do a series of energy exercises every day to help align my energy in the morning.
So I walk every day. I walk like a mile every day. I try to at least. And then I also do yoga. Usually after every workout, I try to do a yoga routine, some sort of stretching. And then I've also been trying to actually do yoga by myself, on my own time.
So one that I started last year is I have a 5-minute gratitude journal in the morning that I do, which is sometimes you don't want to do it, but it's a fun thing to do. You get to say what you're grateful for and then what would make your day best. And then you set an affirmation for the day. And then at the end of the day, you don't know so much as do accounting, but you do a closure kind of thing. So that's been a very much more impactful practice than I ever expected. I like yoga. I do yoga when I can. Like walking, gardening, being outside in general. So any number of outside things: gardening, walking, kayaking.
Making sure that when I set time aside for my family, that my work emails are off and I don't take phone calls, and prioritizing my weekends to be at home, where I'm not going into the lab, I'm not answering emails, or I'm not trying to write, and I take time for myself.
I take the time to work out, specifically working out. No matter how busy I get, I always try to take time to properly cook so I can fully appreciate the nutrients I put into my body. I also fully enjoy Dungeons and Dragons with my friends because it allows me to explore different scenarios with my friends, team building, different perspective shifts.
The main thing that I do is try to exercise every day, which sometimes in the Chicago winters can be difficult, but I go to my basement and ellipticate or do other things like that, climb stairs. I always take the stairs instead of taking the elevators, and also try to make sure that I have a defined work period and not. So, I take the bus into work, and I do that instead of driving so that I can use that time to work. And I take the bus home for the same reason. But then once I'm home, that's it. I just, stop. Unless there's a grant due the next day or something like that. I, have dinner with my wife. We watch television. I, do crossword puzzles. Do things like that just so that no matter how busy I am, I can sort of think about other things.
For me, I walk the dog, so that's my time alone, walk the dog, or just have my coffee with no people talking to me. So it can be little things.
Listen to music. So if you catch me with an earbud in, that's probably what I'm listening to. I love to listen to music and make playlists and send them to my friends. Meditation is a great way to take care of myself. I like to have some self-care days, especially because I'm off on the weekends now. So on Saturday, I'll do a nice little skincare routine. I'll clean up my house and I'll make a nice little meal. It's wellness and self-care is not selfish, people, okay? As long as you acknowledge that the same way that we need to take care of others, we also just need to take care of ourselves, because if we don't take care of ourselves, how are we supposed to take care of other people? How are we supposed to extend that love, that grace, that wanting to be there for somebody if we're not there for ourselves?
What I do for wellness practice is take a moment for myself, even with a beer care or a health care, take a walk outside, do exercise. Breathing exercises is helping me a lot too. So that's what I do.
So I'm going to say I do two practices. One is I enjoy my walks. So I try to squeeze in a walk every day, and that helps both with my physical and mental wellness, because that's the time that I don't take any calls. That's the time when I really ground myself, not think about things and get the clarity of thoughts. So it sort of rejuvenates me in terms of getting my mental capacity back and also being able to think clearly. And I don't know if it helps me stay fit, but it helps me stay connected to the elements around me. And the other thing I really enjoy is yoga. I also teach yoga. So I may not be able to do it on a daily basis, but I try to get some time to either meditate or even squeeze in a small sequence of yoga. So those are the two practices that help me.
But I save things like I do a lot of the online games like Wordle and Connections and these online the phone games, the New York Times games, and I do them at the end of the day. It's my reward. So if I got my things on my checklist done today, then when I get home, then I get to just lay there for a while and do all the games that I wanted to do. It's my reward. So that's something I do. Other things that I do that I guess you could sort of be called wellness is when I commute. I have a very long commute. I make lists in the car. I speak to text. I make lists to myself on the phone, like what I have to get done today. And so there, I feel like that I'm using my commute also to help me prepare for the day. I mean, I'm not on a train where I could type emails or something because I'm driving, but I can talk out loud in the car. And a lot of times you're just sitting. So I'll plan out my day, or I'll be remind myself to email this person, or just that's where I sort of remind myself everything has to go today. I have a seminar at this time, I have this, and it helps me. By the time I get to work, I'm I'm ready. So I know some people do that at night. They plan the night before, what's tomorrow, but I do it in the drive-in. And then I'd say on the drive home, then I don't do that. I just listen to fun things or music or podcasts or something. But on the way in, I do a lot of planning or text, voice to text, people in my lab, just to plan the day. It helps me. And I don't know if it's wellness, but it helps me. My anxiety goes down when I do it, put that way. Yeah. So that's all I have.
It's clear that wellness is as multifaceted as the scientific community itself. Today, we've heard from a diverse group of attendees about their personal wellness practices that keep them balanced, focused, and driven. We've seen that whether it's through meditation, exercise, connecting with loved ones, or simply taking a moment to breathe, wellness is an integral part of doing effective, impactful science. These practices not only sustain us, but they propel us forward, allowing us to tackle the challenges of research and innovation with resilience and vigor.
All right, so welcome back, everyone. Thank you, Daisy, for that last segment. It was really good how you interviewed a lot of our folks at ASIP as well as HCS about how they deal with wellness. And so we thought we would reconvene and then talk about our personal experiences as well as part of what we do for that. How are you guys doing?
Good. That was really fun to put together. Yeah, I'm doing well, thankfully, on this topic of wellness.
That's always good to hear. How about you, Ben?
I'm doing all right. I feel like being a postdoc, having to discuss wellness is something that I consider every day, as you all know, because you went through it as well. So managing wellness is an everyday battle for sure.
Yeah, it's a struggle. And so one of the first things that we wanted to discuss and bring up to the attention is it's been recently more constantly brought up in the news about wellness, but not just wellness. There's a new emerging topic about evidence-based wellness. What that means is a lot of the industries, and what I mean by industry means biomedical health related industries, are mostly directed at treatment. And what we talk about that is pharmaceuticals, development of materials, all of these different things that treat a disease rather than prevention. Prevention is a big word, and I think people often overlook that it is a major part of our development, but it's also a very intricate and tricky thing to address, especially with wellness. And so in the news, again, like I mentioned, part of it has been the importance of how incentives to actually become more, what I was going to say, balance or whatever, in sync with your wellness. It's a major topic. Some of the numbers come up to almost only 30% of the amount of money, which is around $4 trillion spent by the U.S. medical industry, is spent in prevention. So that means that a lot of our assets are being spent in action, which means that we might be too late at that point to actually do something. However, in recent years, a lot of companies have been emerging about doing a lot of these different preventive methods to actually become aware of wellness. And part of this has been going through like all the lifespan, which is from like early childhood to like people that are senior, they're older, looking to actually become more aware of this. And we wanted to bring it up to the topic because as we do research, a lot of these research impacts in different lifespans. So, what what have you guys heard about this new trend about evidence based wellness?
Well, I'm in a gut lab right now. So, one of the things that's really fascinating to me is how your microbiome can alter your wellness and how exercise and diet, as we know, impacts our health, but also impacts the microbial community. And that community can then also impact your physiological health. And I think that that's one of the, I guess, when we discuss evidence based wellness research, that's what I've been reading and learning about recently, especially with the gut brain axis and how microbial metabolites affect your mental wellness, not just your physical wellness. I find that super fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is really fascinating because they talk about the second brain being in the gut, right? And it seems like it is certainly, yeah, very powerful in controlling the state we're in. One thing I wanted to mention is our increasing longevity, and that is a great thing. But it also means that towards our older years, where yes, we're living longer, but the quality of the life that we're living and the amount of wellness we experience in our later years can be diminished. One thing that I research is age-related macular degeneration, which is a disease of the elderly, and it causes central loss of vision. And which that is really devastating because we're always using our central vision, like even driving, looking at our phones, looking at this podcast if you're watching on YouTube. Also, the perception of colors is governed by our central vision as well. So just life is, yeah, just not as vibrant in terms of what you perceive in the world. And you can't even recognize faces. So let's say if you wanted to see the face of your grandchild, that would be a struggle if you had macular degeneration. So I think, yeah, in terms of wellness and age-related issues, I think having more research dedicated to preserving our senses is really important into our older age because I think a lot of wellness is around having our senses intact and vibrant because then we can experience the world as vibrantly as we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
And oh, sorry, go ahead.
no. I was just saying, like, yeah, that's a good idea. Go ahead, pick.
Yeah, in addition to longevity, I think that the idea of chronological versus biological age is a great or evidence-based wellness research topic that's growing. And then if we look at gender differences within there, um, women have not been included in a lot of our dogmas of what we think is a standard of health. And I think that the tide is shifting to include more women and women of color into this sort of paradigm to help understand what really is wellness. And it is more personalized because one individual could have a chronological age of 48 and then biologically range anywhere from 28 to 54, right? Depending on what parameters we're setting.
Yeah, and that's true. Like the science behind this, it's pointing out a 7 year difference between the man and the woman. And so what that means for longevity is it's higher or bigger than what we expect. It's not just about prognosis. It's about what we're doing in between and showing how that difference makes a big change. I mean, my lab does a lot of these. When we're looking at doing an animal model, for example, we're always looking for sex and not just the difference is how it translates to humans. So
Mhm.
the study that we are going to point out in our description for this video and for the episode points out that the 7 year gap, again, it's even higher for some terms, as for example lipids, lipid age, the differences between our liver age, kidney, are very much, again, beyond the 7 year. And so what that means is that if you're thinking about a patient that is having struggles with keeping their cholesterol levels up to par, but are also struggling with not finding a balance between their wellness, meaning their mental health, and then their actual physical health, that struggle becomes more evident. And one of the things as a physician that we're very familiar with is in females, there's a lot of recognition that even though um, some biochemical markers might be higher or more elevated in premenopausal females, which shifts in postmenopausal females, is not the same risk of dying and actually having really serious complications in males. What that points out is that it's not just about genetics, it's also about looking at the wellness, which means a lot of things. One of the things that I read from this article was looking at some of these newer modalities to doing genetic testing, like 23andMe. And so that helps with understanding what type of background you have genetically, but also what predisposition might come from that and what you can do before that. And so that's sort of like preventive of what you can do to actually increase your likelihood of all of these diseases being eradicated. And so, in that sense, the article points that out, but it also highlights that the difference between your kidneys, metabolic, all of these different parameters are evident, and it's something to be mindful about. And so, it's something to take care of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
definitely.
interesting you bring up hormones because, like, I mean, I'm in the age group that's perimenopausal. Like, menopause it's coming in a few years. Got to be aware of it, right? And that's the shifts in just your body, like from what my mom tells me, which I know is not evidence-based wellness, but she said that there are certain things like maybe your taste changes. So like the foods that you once enjoyed no longer taste the same. And it's incredible how like hormone signaling can play such a vital role in just how you live every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And on the topic of hormones, interestingly, women who get menopause earlier are more likely to develop age-related macular degeneration. And women who go on hormone replacement therapy can delay the onset of macular degeneration. So there is like that kind of hormonal link there, which is really fascinating. And with macular degeneration patients, what happens is there's some research going on to suggest that women are more likely, 2.2 times more likely to get macular degeneration. And of course, like women are living longer, so you could think, that could have something to do with it. But hormonally, I think there's a lot to research, and there's a gap in the literature there actually. So there needs to be more funding for research, specifically looking at the sex differences governing disease, because I know a lot of mouse models, it's actually often easier to exclude females because of the hormonal fluctuations and just go with males, like all males, for example. But in fact, yeah, it's important to have that equity between the sexes of the animals, and explore and tease out that data, and make sure that
And I think
yeah,
that's
we actually get some good stats on that.
Yeah, and you're right, Daisy. I mean, it's more easily done in clinical research where you normally try to show that your population is, I don't know, half and half, or almost you try to represent it as much as you can, which is not half and half, which is more females are, I mean, globally there's more females than males, but it tries to show the scalable disparity that we have in mice, right? But I think now in the past, like here in the US, day and age used to have this like sex as a biological variable, right? And then it was often like a check mark. Did you write down that you're going to look at it? It was like a yes, and that was it, right? Nowadays, the rigor is more on how exactly are you addressing that, and that means like, is your animal model even worth it to look at if you're looking just as one, right? So those little things that might just come back to basic science. Again, in clinical is a little more widely proposed because again, you have to look at your biological sample. But with reproducibility, it's coming down to what are we doing with female versus male mice or rats or whatever we're working with. But it's true. It's true that we address it in some ways during our research. All right, so the next thing that we wanted to talk to you guys about, and it is important in this as off topic about not off topic, but related to the evidence based is what exactly we do with wellness, right? And it's because of the things that we directly do, and it impacts on what we do. Let's segue into that.
Yeah, let's chat about that because we heard a lot of wonderful things from the ASIP and HCS members on what they do for wellness, and it was actually really fun to learn about what they did. There were so many interesting things that people actually engage in, and one thing that emerged, I would say, is that exercise is a key factor that really enhances their wellness, and people seem to really like incorporate that as part of their lifestyle and make sure that that's almost like a daily thing. So that's really awesome. And I would have to say that that is something that I do for wellness as well. Now that I'm in Sydney, I'm swimming more, which has been really good. So I was actually inspired by my husband who swims every day. And I never did that before, but now I'm starting to try to swim every day, which has been really good. I think just being in the water really helps and just clears the mind. And another thing I love doing is yoga. I'm a big fan of yoga. So that is something that I love doing. I have yet to find a yoga studio here in Sydney that I absolutely like and obsessed with. But in Boston, I had something that like a yoga studio, Breathe Cambridge, that I absolutely love. Yeah, so those are two, and more like something just that I love doing is taking a bath now and then. I think it really helps to reset and just make you kind of very relaxed. And I feel like it gets me out of my head a little bit because, our research is very cerebral and very dense. And sometimes you want to like kind of come out of that state. And I find taking a bath really helps. What about you, Vic?
I mean, those are all great. I love swimming. I haven't swam in 2 years here at Rutgers, unfortunately. We have a really bomb swimming pool, but I'm in a different campus, so it's like super out of the way. But I've been recently running more, and that has been helping, especially with the mind clearing or at least thinking through problems. That has been really nice. And I like to read a lot, like a lot. So consuming audiobooks during commute or reading on a Kindle that I got for Christmas. I prefer physical books, but the Kindle is a game changer. And I also like to garden. I think being outside is just really nice. Like when people discuss forest bathing and it seems really hand wavy, I truly believe that being outside in nature does help release some stress, especially if you're doing an activity that helps you sort of appreciate the environment that you're in. So I like to immerse myself in environments where I'm not in the lab or maybe in front of a computer screen. So running outside or gardening outside or reading is usually what I do. What about you, Roberto?
Yeah, I've been taking a couple of those extra steps. I would say the first and most important one has been biking. So it started as a cheap alternative to buying a car, and then it became a thing. And so now I bike back and forth from work. Albuquerque is a nice city to actually do that. So I do 10 miles each way. It's an e-bike, by the way, so I have to disclose that. It's not.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Yeah,
dang,
so
10
yeah,
miles.
no, not like that. But no, I mean it's nice because I get when people say like I need to decompress like while I'm
Mhm.
driving, right? It gives me an
Yeah.
opportunity. for me, it's different. This thing allows me to feel, I don't know, free for once. I actually
Mm.
feel like it's very different. No traffic. I don't hear any traffic. And so that allows me a time to like be listening to that what I want to listen to. Bike lanes are almost empty, so that allows me that time to actually be thinking about what I'm doing. I'm also taking calls every now and then while I'm biking. So I don't know. It's a good way for me to do all of this. I think the important one is, I mean, since I have kids, they are the ones that guide my wellness. And what that means is like they're always wanting to do stuff. So that helps with me being active in their lives and then also doing that. We started doing a lot of the YMCA classes. So now I'm going with them. And then that gives me a time to go and then do some workout while they're doing their classes. So it's given a good transition. But yeah, I try to do my best to put in as many hours as I do during the day for work as for wellness, which means playing video games, doing whatever I want. Yeah, anything that actually just matches that energy. And one of the things that I'll say about the while I was reading this article was how different your mindset is with some of these things about doing genetic testing. So I recently found out that I'm 39% Jewish based on it. I always sort of like knew that I was Jewish based on you know just things that I felt, right? And so I found out about that. And so one of the things that changed was how you perceive yourself, as in the ways that you like how you behave, like the things, your thoughts and all that. And then one of the things that came out of that article was a lot of the people that were getting the results and then not like getting something that they did not expect or something actually gave them hope about finding out more about their past and also understanding where they were coming from. And that's sort of like a way of doing wellness. So it's not just about diseases, it's also about some of the other stuff. So it helped me a little bit understand the path that I sort of wanted to make clear, where I came from and what did that meant for me. And so that really put in my perspective about some of the things that I was thinking about my own background, right? So I think that's something important for everyone to know as well. So I mean, they're a little pricey, not horrible. The University of Pittsburgh was having a really big initiative where they were doing actually free testing because they wanted samples for some other um, purpose. But there are ways that people are you might be able to get it for free. So if you're thinking about genetic testing, I also heard that there was a company that they were doing testing in cats. So this lady was doing testing like your genetic testing for your cats, and then they got bought by a another company that needed the data for a research study about cats and their lineage and whatnot. So I mean, there's different avenues. People are doing research about doing this genetic testing, so that might be a way that people can get involved, but also again learning about their own background. So those are good alternatives as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think knowing your past is really impactful for how you decide to build your future because we're always moving forward, even if we live in the present, but the past is there. So that is a really good
Yeah.
point. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
I'm curious now.
Yeah.
I want to take this test now. I wonder what my genetic background would be. Yeah,
Well,
funnily,
if you have specific, especially if you have like not doubt, but you're curious about it, it's worth it just so that you learn a little bit about that. Also, some diseases are very specific demographically, so you want to know about some of those. So some are more intricate when you're getting into the details, so you can get as intricate as you want, and you can get about variants and not mutations, but variants or predisposition based on the location. So it's useful, especially for people that are coming from like, I don't know, cancer, things like that, that are, even though
family.
everything's meaningful, some of them have higher predisposition, especially again if you're younger and you're also thinking about having kids. Some of these things are important so that you can at least prevent if you can do something about I don't know some risks that you might have. Diet intervention, like we said, wellness might help prevent development. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely something to think about. Yeah, in terms of wellness, I wanted to share a fun fact that I learned. It's in regards to Vic's comment about being in nature. Apparently for like optimal kind of like when you design like a business space or campus, 30% canopy cover is optimal for wellness and just like good mental health in general, which is interesting. And my campus now has a lot of green space, a lot of canopy cover. So I'm like, oh, that's really good. I should take time to like walk out and about. So yeah, definitely good to keep that in mind when designing spaces as well, to kind of bring that natural aspect in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think a lot of universities start doing that. It's really hard to do so because I mean, going to the library implicates like actually going out and then doing some of the stuff because it's I mean we're far apart from different places, but there are resources available. So I think that's great. I think the other important thing that I mean, for our next episode and people to be in the lookout is our next episode is going to be looking also a little bit about including some aspects about research that are very much in the news recently. So our next episode is going to be looking at not exactly recycling, but the initiatives and research happening around microplastics. I got an opportunity to interview a good friend of mine who is actually leading the efforts here in the University of New Mexico doing microplastics, where they found microplastics in testicles from dogs and humans after like 10 years and how it affects infertility. That's a very interesting episode. I got an opportunity to do an interview with them, and so we'll have some more stuff coming up. And the important thing is our trip to Australia is coming up, and so that's becoming something more and more closer to happening. So we're excited to have for that to bring you a lot of those like that footage that we'll have over there. We'll try to capture as much as we can for our trip, for the podcast, for the science that's coming behind it, and also for the conference because we are attending the Biomolecular Horizons meeting happening in Melbourne, I believe, right, Daisy?
In Melbourne, yeah. So we get to see two cities and more cities for you guys as well.
Yeah, so very excited for this to happen. So hope you guys enjoy the rest of the episode. Like I said, we'll put a link to this paper and some other resources at the end of the detailed description of the video, as well as the audio version. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll see you next time.
That wellness is as multifaceted as the scientific community itself. Today, we've heard from a diverse group of attendees about their personal wellness practices that keep them balanced, focused, and driven. We've seen that whether it's through meditation, exercise, connecting with loved ones, or simply taking a moment to breathe, wellness is an integral part of doing effective, impactful science. These practices not only sustain us, but they propel us forward, allowing us to tackle the challenges of research and innovation with resilience and vigor. So, whatever your field, wherever your research may lead, remember to take a moment for yourself, to care for your well-being as diligently as you pursue your scientific questions. Because, at the end of the day, the best science comes from scientists who are not only brilliant, but also well-rounded and well. Thanks for tuning into the Behind Our Science podcast, and until next time, keep exploring the science behind everything.